Today's guest is Sam. Sam is a friend of mine, a combat veteran, a Serbian Croatian linguistic, a mother living with complex neurological and connective tissue disorder. Sam helps others learn about muscle spasms, how to manage pain, and fight dystonia through her TikTok platform. She also serves other veterans with their families as a life insurance agent focused on dignity, preparation, and protection. Please welcome Sam. Words, what is dystonia?
Is a nightmare. Dystonia is my neurological nightmare disorder where my brain misfires and it sends the wrong signals to my body, causing involuntary muscle contractions and spasms and pain and loss of control. Creates a brain fog and exhaustion. It feels like someone is pulling on my puppet strings and not being very kind. So for me, it's been one of the most debilitating experiences imaginable, overwhelming at times that I didn't actually want to exist anymore. But what I have learned is this: those thoughts were not me. They were my brain struggling from the lack of oxygen, stuck in fight or flight mode, doing everything that it could just to keep me alive. So, dystonia is a nervous system in survival mode, misfiring, overprotecting, and exhausting me at all at the same time. Once I understood that, that saved my life. And now I help others understand that their pain and their spasms and even their suicidal thoughts are not personal failures. They're symptoms of the brain trying to survive it. So healing starts when we stop blaming ourselves and we start retraining the system that's been working over time just to keep the lights on. So that's what it is for me.
Thanks for sharing, Sam. I would say for me, it's been a lot of frustration, but also a great way where I found community and I found my purpose in life to be a social worker and advocate and change how disability is viewed.
That's beautiful. I'm glad you were doing that because I don't think I could have. There was a time where I just truly didn't think I could survive it. So to see you do something like that for others is just, very moving and touching.
Thanks, Sam.
I've experienced some symptoms of shaking as well, but mainly when I'm extremely stressed out or I've put too much pressure on my spine, where I will have like a bobble and it's like it'll circle. It feels like its own it feels like its own rhythm in your head and everywhere else is offbeat, right? Is that because that's what it feels like for me, or it feels like a full-on body buzz, just like I can feel a zinging all through my body, and it's just weird and intense, and it's just like a whoa, 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 just kind of its own like little whooshing sound and it makes. I don't know if that's normal for you, but that's what it started to feel like. But like I said, once I started my own physical therapy regime and and just went back to the basics, I guess you would say, it's improved. So like I can sit longer periods during the day so long as I do my exercises and roll my spine out with my foam roller to realign my body, because once that collapses is when I start to get shaky. Or if I'm too stressed out or if I haven't had enough sleep, it'll start to come back. So is that a part of it, you think? Or
The dystonia is pulling my neck.
well, my hands have done that too, and my
Yeah.
feet have turned inward, but my hands went like this, and I was all the way like that with my neck up.
Mhm.
stuck in that position, and then my body folded forward. But if it weren't for the physical therapist that told me, she said, just go with the clinch of that instead of fighting it, like I've seen on other, because I was actually, I think that's how I found you on TikTok, because I was looking for other people who were dealing with the same things, and I looked up dystonia and I found you there.
Mhm.
So, and I've seen other people have all different types of dystonia where it contracts and lets and it releases. It contracts and releases. So they're going through it constantly, like that, through a contraction and release. And sometimes, like I said, my body would contract and hold it, but it would release faster than
Mhm.
most. So I didn't feel as stuck, which I was very thankful for. But I noticed that it was like right in here in my back muscle where it was really contracting the most. And once I learned how to just apply the pressure, similar to like fascia movement,
Mhm.
that's when I was able to release it better. And I use the peanut roller, looks like this thing, and I use it in between my shoulder blades, and it cracks and it puts me, what I tell everybody, it puts me back on the shelf because I have a connective tissue disease. And after a really bad surgery, I was out with a neurological disorder where I didn't want to move. I didn't want to do anything. I lost muscle mass so quickly. And unfortunately, my ligaments weren't strong enough to keep my body aligned, and that's where my body fell out of alignment, if you will, and it collapsed on itself, which I believe is what started the dystonia. So once I started doing gentle physical therapy again, regaining muscle, my body became, you know, went back to normal in a way. It started to hold its shape again. So if I don't do those things, then dystonia will come back. And it's similar to those that suffer with depression. If you're depressed all day long, you're in bed, you're not exercising, you're going to lose muscle mass, and you're going to start experiencing those same exact symptoms. So that's why they call mine functional dystonia, because it affects me, but it's not something that they don't believe I was born with. They believe that something happened to me to create that. So similar to those that get it functional dystonia through, like I said, depression. So you can get it through depression as well. But I believe mine came from just severe abuse as an infant. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Abuse can really stay in the body. I've dealt with a lot of trauma in my life as well. As someone with generalized anxiety disorder and panic attack disorder, I'm wondering if you find that your dystonia worsens when you have anxiety.
I think so. I experienced obviously a lot of sadness and pain right around the same time I was diagnosed. I started becoming depressed and anxious and worried, and I noticed that with lack of sleep or uh, just even bad news, a sad moment, even being sad could make my dystonia come out. Activity was just going up and down the stairs. The guaranteed moment of I know I'm gonna have dystonia tonight. I know I'm gonna have it. I can feel it coming on. I can feel it. I can feel it coming on. And I think I went 181 days straight with it without any relief. And it wasn't until my physical therapist took my case to an actual like convention with a whole bunch of other doctors and was saying she's having these muscle spasms. How can we help her? She only had like 5 minutes to talk about it. And they asked, when was the first time she subluxed her neck? And a subluxation is like a mini dislocation of anything. It could be your finger, it could be your neck, but mine was in my neck where I subluxed my neck and I pinched a nerve. And they said put her in a hard cervical collar. And once I put myself in a hard cervical collar and took the pressure off of my spine, the dystonia kind of let up at first. So I found some solutions in the beginning, but it wasn't a final solution. So, but I do notice that, well, I have to sleep in a neck brace. Otherwise, my dystonia will be worse in the morning and make it just miserable throughout the day.
That's interesting you say that because prior to my DBS surgery, sleeping was the one thing where I wasn't shaking. And to this day, I love sleeping, just not during the nighttime. My anxiety disorder, especially being diagnosed with dystonia at only 10 years old. For context, I am 33. Millennials don't age. I, to this day, I will be walking fine, but if I sense people staring at me, or I just put in my mind that people are staring at me, my dystonia gets so bad.
Oh, really?
It's even, for example, my right hand turns and it loves to do that at nail salon
Oh,
because I want it to be still, and it's I find it frustrating because a lot of people are not aware of what dystonia is.
yeah,
So often I'll get, oh, does it hurt? Meaning, does the nail
right.
polish hurt you? And I'm like, no.
It's just
And
true.
and because a lot of people are not aware of dystonia, they're aware of Parkinson's. So I'll say I have a disorder similar to Parkinson's, or I will just say brain damage, and they go, oh,
Oh, I haven't really talked a lot about it with people because it's just kind of hard to explain. But even today, I went out and was doing things, and the lady just kept noticing me being really uncomfortable and moving and twitching. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was just like, "It's just a neurological thing. Don't worry." So even my face will like contort and do things that I don't mean it to do. People go, "You just did something there." I'm like, "What? I don't know. I don't have control over it. Sometimes it." But I remember at one point it was pulling on my face, like my whole face went to the side. Just like it just felt like someone, like I said, was pulling on some strings in there and just doing what they wanted to do, not what I wanted it to do. So, but yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
I'm curious to know if you've ever had issues with your dystonia in terms of eating. For example, I am terrified to eat apples with skin because I've choked on the skin before,
Mhm.
and I feel like the muscles in my neck, I'm not sure if they contract or not, but
Yeah, I kind of I do avoid certain foods just
mm,
because if I overexert my jaw can become dystonic and move itself. And but I've learned through my upper cervical chiropractor how to like reset the jaw, and you just take your knuckles and you try to find that little that little divot in there, push to the side, and then you yank on the other, and then do the other, but that releases the tension. I have had one point where the jaw was so tight, my physical therapist had to go in with a glove and just pinched my mouth for like 5 minutes straight and just hold it there. And it was so painful, but it was like, it was the only thing that she could think of to help release it because it was so bad. But I was in a lot of I was in pretty bad shape, probably 2023 through 24 with all of that. It was probably the toughest year I had with dystonia. So, yeah, at least the hard part is over now, right? Once you figure everything out and you realize what things are, you can try to fight them. So, but I've noticed that in my hands, if it's connected to my hands, it's more than likely up here in my neck. If it's connected to my feet, it's connected to my low back. So if that's how I am able to fight back.
That's so interesting. I just keep thinking about how my neurologist told me stop doing weights at the gym. It's okay to do strength training. I started doing more cardio for weight loss, but they actually told me the opposite. Don't gain muscle.
So I feel like I have to because of my connective tissue disease.
Mm,
We're also looking into muscular dystrophy with my genetics doctor because she's like, yeah, you're losing muscle too fast. So
mm.
I've always noticed that even in high school, if I didn't run every single day, then I would be in worse shape than everybody else if I missed a day. So that should have been a sign that something was going on. I look at my symptoms, the head shaking, the twitching, the uncontrollable twitching, and sometimes even while driving, I probably shouldn't be driving anymore because of the fact that my foot can twitch on the pedal at any time, and that's a little scary and worrisome. So I'm not exactly sure what to do at that point, but do you still drive?
So I never drove.
Okay.
I actually started using accessible transit in grade 12. And my dad always said, if you learn to drive, I'll get you a car, which is quite enticing. And if I could choose any car to drive, I would love a Mercedes G Wagon. However, every time I'm in the car with someone driving and I see a car coming towards us, I jump and I'm not even
Are
driving.
you scared?
Yeah. And I actually, a couple months ago, took my brother, who's 14, go karting. I was so excited. Sam, I'm telling you, these kids flew past me, and I'm just like, oh my god, turn. Yeah, don't put me behind the wheel, please.
No.
No.
Yeah, it's a little I'm a little nervous lately these days, but I don't go far. I don't go many places, and when I do, I take the long routes away from the highways just because if I need to pull over, I can do it quickly. So I try to avoid anything dangerous.
I'm wondering if you have utilized any mobility aids. For example, I use a cane, an electric wheelchair, and it really does provide me with independence and freedom.
So yeah, I have quite a few mobility aids. They first had me, using a scooter, then like a knee scooter, then it was try the walker, and then it was use a cane, and then it was I need a chair. I can't set foot on the ground anymore because of the complex regional pain. So I
Mm.
used a power chair, electric power chair for I want to say now it's almost over 2 years now, but I have gained independence from that chair lately, as of late. So for the longest time, I actually couldn't walk. But ever since I have sought help through an upper cervical chiropractor with a ultrasonic sound wave like a percussive device, he has given me my ability back to walk again. So I can actually like walk into the store, into the grocery store and grocery shop. But if it's a huge store, I still grab the chair because I don't want to overexert my feet because fortunately my ankles do collapse on themselves when I walk. So I have to like flick them out sometimes in order to like unlock them. If not, they'll be so locked the bones will start to grind on each other. So that's kind of where I have issues because I really do want independence from my chair, but then I really am thankful for my chair.
I love my wheelchair.
Yeah, I love my wheelchair especially because it's collapsible and it's only like 55 pounds. So for a while though, when I was leaving my apartment, I had to go down the stairs and carry the chair, which was always pulling my neck out of alignment and giving me guaranteed dystonia that night. So it was kind of like a I want to use my chair, but if I use my chair, I'm going to get dystonia. And it was like a battle. So I could never truly leave my home for like the longest time. I was just kind of isolated and I would just order everything to come to me.
That
So
sounds expensive.
it really, really was. I probably went a little broke doing that, but
I first started using my wheelchair in grade 9. So I was always late to class, and not my fault. I'm disabled. And so the school recommended me getting a cane. And being 14, that was terrifying. So I did start using a cane in grade 9. And the funny story, that year, during the winter time, I started seeing people using crutches because people fell
oh, on the ice.
snowboarding, skiing, whatnot. And it's so it's so funny to me because I see a couple other students using canes.
Right.
We love our chairs.
Yes, we do. We need our chairs. I remember actually, I asked for the chair in the beginning because of the foot pain. And
Mm,
I had told the ER doctor because he was about to send me home with nothing. And I said, if you do not give me a chair right now, I said something like along the lines that I was gonna off myself, but I was just being, that's how like serious I was. I was like, I am not putting in, I said, if you tell me to put another foot on that ground, I will blow my brains out. I told him that. And he's like, okay, do you have CRPS? And I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't care what that is. What is it? And so, and it kind of just led down to, eventually having dystonia. So.
Isn't it great that as disabled women, we're constantly having to fight for what we want?
I recommend anybody who is, you know, dealing with any neurological issues is to always, always ensure you have a good diet and you're taking really good supplements to help you fight what's basically attacking you on the inside.
My mom would love you. When I had
Good.
DBS surgery, she's like, no, we can help you with natural things. And I was like, Mom, I cannot wait to get those electrodes
Right.
implanted.
Well, that's completely different, and you can still do all natural stuff for
Yeah.
sure. I went extreme detoxed and I went vegan for a couple of weeks, and that one it was really great on my body. Like my body
Um,
really enjoyed going vegan. And so I pretty much stay vegan as much as I can during the week. Every now and then I'll have a little bit of chicken or fish, but everything else is just vegan diet.
Sam, I feel like you should just live here because my best friend is also vegan. She doesn't eat any animal products, so you'd fit right in.
No, that's good. I mean, I still eat everything, it's a balance, but if I had to live vegan the rest of my life, I wouldn't be sad. I'll tell you that right now. Like there's nothing wrong with going vegan.
You said that you were short. I will
Yes.
see who is shorter. I'm
Okay.
5'1".
Oh, darn. I'm 5'2", so I'm a little bit taller than you.
Actually, I have a question now that we're talking about height. Prior to having dystonia, did you ever walk in heels? And could you walk in heels now?
I struggled actually to walk in heels even before dystonia.
Mm,
I don't have the best of ankles strength, which I never truly have. and my feet just don't seem to fit well in those shoes, and they've never have. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I think it just has to do with the fact that I've had a connective tissue disease and I've sprained my ankles so many times over the years that there's no ligament strong enough in my ankle. I'm like marshmallows and spaghetti sticks. It's my ankle. That's what they're made of. So
That's okay. We don't need heels
I
anymore.
wear flat boots all the time because the boots hold the ankle.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what I love the most. I wear like biker boots that go tight up around the calves, you know. My aunt actually had gifted me a whole bunch of shoes before she passed away, and there's so many I
Oh,
can't wear because they're stilettos.
yep.
And I'm just like, they're pretty. I can wear them on the bed, but I'll never stand in those things ever.
Yeah, my shoe collection consists of high tops and Timberlands.
Those are,
No,
yeah.
yeah, no high heels.
Yeah, I do have the high heels, but they weren't like I said, they were inherited. So, because I will literally walk like a newborn calf and shit. And just be like this.
Do you find that being disabled impacts your relationships, whether that's with family or romantic partnerships?
Relationship wise, I haven't looked to go date anybody right now because I am concerned about that. I feel self-conscious about it. Like, because not only do I have dystonia, I have other issues, you know, like I have bladder issues. And how do I want to explain that to my next partner? You know, I don't think I'm going to be in that place where that's what I'm looking for because it's just, I've already been through so much and I've seen what it does to people that it's just like I don't think I feel like I don't would want to be a burden to someone in a way because you feel that guilt even if you don't mean to, but there is that guilt like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean you to stop and drop and do everything for me. If you've got to go live your life, go live your life. Like I'll be okay. So I've just become super hyper independent, but that is also a survivor mechanism built in due to abuse. So it's kind of like I'm probably better off alone. It's just in my realm right here for me.
I've heard a lot of other disabled people, including myself, say they don't want to be a burden towards others. And I really share that sentiment of being hyper independent. It's it's frustrating because yes, you want to learn how your body works and you want to learn how to be independent. However, we should be welcomed if we ask for help, and we shouldn't feel ashamed
Right.
to
I mean,
ask for help.
there's people that have come up to me and asked me for help and asked if I needed help because there have been times where mentally maybe or maybe just in the brain where I was kind of out of it, not knowing my surroundings. Like I blipped out
Mm.
of thought and I must have been sitting there staring at something in a frozen mode, and somebody's like, "Ma'am, are you okay? Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Sorry, how long have I been here?" You know, or I would be confused when I come out of it. And there was one time when I was driving where I didn't know why I was driving again, or where I was, or where was I heading? Like, wait, what am I doing? It was very strange. So there are moments like that where I just don't know. So that's scary. And I would just again wouldn't want to burden someone like that. I know they say like the right person out there wouldn't, you know, call it or think of it as a burden. But I also don't want to have to owe anybody anything because I don't want to feel like I'm obligated to owe you something because you've done something for me. So it's another independence thing, like a defense mechanism, I guess. So it's just probably all built into everything that I've been through.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I share that sentiment. At this point, my dating apps have turned into pure entertainment instead
Entertainment.
of I'm hoping to look for a connection with a nice man, but
I joke.
oh,
I don't know if you ever saw one of my TikToks, but I used to joke with wearing my neck brace. I was like, keeps the creeps away, at least they're not looking at you anymore. So, at least like, I don't know. I don't mind wearing my neck brace in public. It's not to get attention. And in fact, like I said, less people look at me because they'll look at me and they'll look away real quick because they're just like, oh, don't stare at the handicapped woman. So it's kind of nice being a little invisible sometimes to me. I like it because, I don't have a guy hitting on me anymore for that. But I do have people, concerned people ask, are you okay? Or, what's going on with you? And then I'll crack a joke, I'm just mummifying from the inside out, turning to dust. It's okay.
my
So,
my go-to actually tell a story about this. I was with friends and I just because I have anxiety and dystonia, I don't drink, I don't partake in substances other than my medication. And I remember the gentleman saying, "Damn, what are you on? You look so happy." I'm like, I'm sober. I'm just happy.
right.
Um, but my go-to icebreaker for people is to say, "Don't worry, I just had too much tequila," because of the way I'm limping. And it's so funny because people are like, "Do I laugh? Is she joking?" And I'm like, "I'm joking. I'm disabled." Hey,
I love it. That's
yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, I
But
haven't. I want to do, kind of like how the pregnant ladies when you ask them, so when are you due? And I've always wanted to be that lady that says, "What the hell are you talking about?" While she's 9 months pregnant. Just
people will believe anything. A guy on dating app. I so for context, I put a photo of myself, a photo with a wheelchair and a cane, just to show I'm disabled. And I wrote it in my bio. And the gentleman said, "What happened to you?" They always want this elaborate car accident story. Don't have one for you, bud. But what I do have is a sarcastic sense of humor. So I just well I got bit by a shark.
I got bit by a shark.
This guy was like, "Oh my god, what happened?" Like, dude, I'm disabled. There's nothing
I like the shark.
glamorous.
I like the shark one though. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a crowd
The crowd
pleaser.
thriller. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Keep
So
it, keep it.
yeah, I got bit by. But the funny thing is, if I got bit by a shark, you would think I would be an amputee.
Right. Now
I'm
you need to
not.
say radioactive spider next time.
Yes, I'm actually in cahoots with Spider Man.
That's right. Doc Ock put a DBS. When did you start experiencing your first dystonic symptoms?
At 10 days old, I started, I think, turning blue. I'm not sure. I was rushed to the hospital, and my parents were told there was a hole in my heart and that needed to be repaired. So at 6 months old, I had a VSD. I always forget the name, but ventricular
Ventricular.
septal defect. And they repaired the hole in my heart, and everything was okay. And my mom said, so my parents are divorced. I went to my mom's and she was wondering why I'm limping. And I actually found out recently that my dystonia was acquired.
Okay.
However, I don't remember what happened or if it's connected to the heart disease
Mhm.
issue. So fast forward to again grade 9, my leg just started jumping up and it was uncontrollable. So that's when we start going to see the doctor, the neurologist. Like, I think I got diagnosed at 10. It's such a blur. I was a child. But by the time I got to grade 12, so in the span of 4 years, my dystonia started impacting my walking, my neck, my right hand, my s- I don't know if my speech was always impacted. I'm just My parents are used to me speaking this way. Actually, I didn't know I spoke quote differently until I went to see a psychiatrist at 25 for my anxiety. And the first question he asked was, "How long have you had the speech impediment?" And I'm like, didn't know I did.
It's funny when you mentioned the heart. I didn't know you had a heart issue. I also was born with a heart murmur, and I still have the murmur, which is suggestive of aortic valve disease for me. When I was pregnant, it was really bad. They were like, "You're a high risk pregnancy. You shouldn't really be getting pregnant. You're pumping too much blood. Now it's regurgitating back into your other chambers, and that's what's causing you to have this, that, and the other." So they were like, so no matter what, when you go to give birth, you have to have an epidural to keep your heart rate low. So like I was forced on epidurals, which I also think they went too deep in my epidurals. And I literally collapsed, like thinking I could get up to go to the toilet to walk to the toilet. I fell straight down. They must have done something because my tissues obviously weren't as good as others. So getting an epidural inside my spine, they probably went too much too far, too deep, and not knowing it because I had such softer tissue. But the heart murmur issue I had as a baby, my mother said that when she was bottle feeding me, because I also have a slight Chiari malformation, which is part of my brain tonsils are not tucked up where they need to be. So they hang a little bit below the skull. And because of the abuse that I had suffered at one point, my skull had been lifted off my spine. So all of that in culmination just makes things worse. It offers sleep disturbances, so I've never been able to really sleep well, even as a child. I would have bad anxiety and to the point where I couldn't sleep. Insomnia, PTSD, trauma, just all of those. Like you said, the body holds and stores that trauma and it just keeps a score, as they say, like that book. But it's a lot to look back on and realize all of that really plays a huge role in what you're going through. So, but yeah, my dystonic symptoms, I guess, technically began as an infant.
Mm.
I wasn't treated right. Obviously, I had fractured bones at 9 months old, apparently, in my arm. Somebody had done something to me. My mother kept skipping out on being accused of abuse. But then again, I have a connective tissue disease. I could have very well just accidentally bumped into something and gotten hurt. You just don't know. I was basically so delicate, I should have been put in a bubble, but nobody took the time to get me proper care, right? They didn't take me to the doctor and say something is truly wrong with her. Keep searching, keep searching. And instead, the doctors were like, she's faking it. She's faking it. And then the family member, she's faking it. She's faking it. And it's like, how do I fake this? You can't fake scoliosis in your neck. You can't fake scoliosis in your spine. You can't fake these things. So, I've had people though witness the true dystonia for what it is. And I'm sure they were terrified watching it. And I got some on film so my doctors could finally see it and finally been completely, like, fully diagnosed with dystonia. So it's a nice feeling to have been finally validated after all these years. But it's not easy because again, you're the stigma that comes with it, whether they know what's wrong with you or not, because some days I look normal, some days I'm not normal at all.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we call an episodic disability.
Right. Okay, I'm not winning anybody over here. Let me go try out TikTok. And everybody on TikTok was so much nicer, like so much more understanding. And they were like, oh, you don't want to do this, you want to do that, you know. So we started all like you and I did. We started collaborating and bouncing our ideas off of each other. What works for you? What's going to work for me? You know, and I found there's a part of the community that metabolizes medications differently. And I'm an ultra metabolizer. So morphine, Dilaudid, lidocaine, Novocaine, Percocet, all of those, you know, pain medication, those drugs don't work on me.
Mm,
Ketamine will work, but I have to be very, very careful with that because it messes with my mental health.
yes.
So I only use it like right after a surgery, and
Mm,
that's that. And the doctors have to approve it. And
mm,
I don't take any ketamine at home. I tried that and that didn't work out well, but it made me realize also at the same time I was abused and I needed to like get away from my abusers. So in a way it was a blessing, but then again, I don't agree. I don't think it's something you should use daily because again, it's going to dull your senses and mess with your other bodily functions like your kidneys.
yeah, thank you for sharing. I think that social media, although it gets a bad rap a lot, I find that the disabled community is thriving on social media because we don't have to leave our home. We
Right?
can connect with anyone around the world. Here in Florida, I'm in Toronto, so I'm still sad about that.
I know. That is what's sad about our community is that we're so spaced out and
Yeah.
clearly we all can't afford to travel or even physically
Mm,
afford to travel, you know. So it's tough because I remember wanting to have a meetup and then I was like, how am I ever gonna do that? I'm in pain. I can't get out the house.
yeah.
I just learned over the time that, you know, this is how we communicate. This is our community is online.
Yeah.
I started noticing though, I don't know if you've noticed or maybe you're because you're still young, but I'm in my 40s and the my comprehension, my focus has just been not there anymore. It hasn't been as
Oh,
sharp as it used to be. So I don't know if that has to do with the dystonia, but I noticed every time I had dystonia, it was so exhausting in my brain that I would be in a fog for days afterwards. So
I,
I would just feel silly and dumb.
sometimes I feel like I have a bad memory, but then sometimes I feel like my memory is selective.
Yeah, no, lately my short-term memory has definitely been affected
Yes.
because there'd be things I would just stop in the middle of talking about and say, I forgot what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, don't know. So it does help to have notes all the time,
Yes.
but that's usually how I fight that is just I have my notes ready to go, especially at the doctor's.
Yes. Having anxiety plus dystonia, I love my notes. My psychiatrist actually said I'm preparing for things way too much. Just as an example, so many people know I've been preparing to launch this podcast since August. We are in February, and even my dad's like, let's get it going.
Well, and now it
Um, yeah,
is. So it's just a matter of getting more and more, people to come on your show.
I
Um,
have a whole list.
you
They're
do?
all waiting for me.
So you're
Yeah,
just basically waiting. Okay, yeah, cool,
yeah,
cool. Well, now you got it. You've ripped the Band-Aid off,
yes.
and we've got a great, start because, I do want to say, that dystonia completely changed how I live my life. I
Yep.
became so afraid to do almost anything and everything that which is including walking, leaving the
Mhm.
house, sitting in a car, driving on my own, even trying to like explain to others what I was going through. It just
Mhm.
became too hard. And something as simple as using the stairs could reliably trigger that dystonia for me. So
Yep.
fear became like a constant companion. Like I was always in fear mode, like I'm going to get it. I know I'm going to get it. And it was like, there's nothing I can do. But over time, like I said, I realized that it was the spinal compression was a major driver in that part. And so the more that my spine compressed, the worse the dystonia became. And I began lying flat on my back, at night using no pillows and then a neck brace to keep my neck
Mhm.
stable and just to reduce, the weight off of my head and the cervical spine. And then that compression, particularly from the C1 through the C5, was aggravating the nerves and fueling the symptoms. It even said like there was pressure on like the nerves, the root nerves leaving, the bottom of my neck. So when I sought help from that upper cervical chiropractor, though, with the sound wave technology to realign the atlas, that was the game changer, the intervention that gave me the 3 month reprieve, if you will, to
Mhm.
like believe that I could survive it. And but yeah, as my muscles weakened from that not exercising enough, it worked against me and my symptoms returned. So deeply, it's debilitating emotionally and exhausting. It's emotionally exhausting. And there were moments when life felt extremely unbearable. But understanding my body and how, the structure of the nervous system, the signaling, and the connective tissue disease all interact now
Yes.
became the foundation for fighting back instead of giving up. So once you start to really understand your own disease or your own issues, you can fight back. And if you don't know how to fight back, reach out to me and we'll figure it out. So I just don't want anybody to give up.
That's the one thing I always tell people is, and I heard Molly Burke, a blind YouTuber who I had the pleasure of meeting a couple weeks ago. She said can either be born disabled, acquire disability through injury or accident, or grow old and with age, your body starts to deteriorate.
Yeah.
So I always remind people you can become disabled. And I'm not
Any
saying that
moment.
to scare anyone, but I'm saying that because the systemic issues of the,
He's just what I want people to really know most about disability is this is just do not give up.
yeah,
Even when the odds are stacked against you, you can keep going, you can adapt, you can
yeah,
defy what you were told was possible. So, like, or what was impossible, you can still defy that. So, there may not be a cure right now, but there are ways to improve quality of life, if you keep searching and advocating for yourself. So, for me, upper cervical care made a world of difference, especially, working with a provider who uses the sound wave technology. But practitioners, that are trained in that approach are rare, but finding, the right one mattered. So, like, most importantly, listen to your body, trust your
mhm.
instincts, and don't stop looking for answers just because someone else stops believing you. Disability is not the end of your story, it's just a different path forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to end off by asking you. Well, first of all, thank you for being my first guest on the road
Happy.
with Jules
Yeah.
podcast. So, can you share one or more good things about having a disability and something you don't like or you categorize as a bad thing?
Okay, well, obviously in the beginning, it's just really hard to cope with. That's the hard part. The negative side is
Yeah.
learning how to cope with the disability, especially if, like you said, we're all one day away from becoming disabled, or a phone call or a bad accident, something like or surgery. Mine, for me, it was surgery. And so, like, the negative was just obviously the hard part was the pain, getting through the pain and the acceptance that I had to be told I'm disabled. It's like the stages of death in a way. You get mad, you deny it, you get angry, you try to bargain, and then you finally come to acceptance. And then, but not everybody can get there. Some people give up. Some people, unfortunately, end their lives because they don't feel that they can find an answer. Half the time, too, they are told it's all in their head when
Mhm.
it's not. That's what's really tough. I think that's the worst part about it is when you are disabled and you have a doctor gaslighting you because they don't understand you. But the best part about it, I guess, is honestly the community of meeting someone like you, Jules, and meeting you and the other people that I have met that need help. And the good part is that if I can help them and they feel better, then that makes me feel better. So I'm just that kind of person where I thrive knowing that other people are thriving and doing good from the advice I've given them. But I have, like I said in the past, looked at my friends or listened to them and go, "You have this." And sure enough, the doctor was like, "You have that," and it's exactly the same thing that I'd said. And so they'll come to me and go, "What should I do? What's working for you now?" And I've been able to validate a lot of people on TikTok too in that way that have felt gaslit their whole lives and even from their own family members. Because why? Those family members were more than likely abusive and didn't want to accept responsibility that they have made been the reason why their family member is disabled.
Let me know if you want to be a guest on the podcast. My contact will be down below. And yeah, let us know what you learned. Do you have dystonia? Have you ever heard of dystonia? What disability or mental health topics would you like me to cover? And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and keep rolling. Thanks, Sam.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.